to a brand new episode of Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight we'll be taking our usual broad look across the DMV landscape. We're going to start with the NCAA tournament where, yes, unfortunately we have to say goodbye to our Maryland teams as both were ousted in the Sweet 16. We're going to talk about how that all went down and what obstacles both teams might be facing next season, as well as looking at our NIT teams, seeing how those schools fare. There were a few DMV representatives. We're going to take a look at all of that. Then, of course, we go to our typical kids show, which is our Caps and Wizards, the week that was. Caps struggling a little bit. Wizards, well, they're the Wizards, so, that's just going to be it. That's the Wizards. There really is not anything else for me to say about that. We also have an update on the Alex Ovechkin record watch. Yes, the record watch is still going strong, and that ticker is still slowly going up. We're going to look at where he's at and how far we have to go with the remainder of the season. We then take a deep look into opening weekend in the MLB. Both the Orioles and Nationals have now played a full series. Mixed results, not all bad, not all good on both sides. We're going to look at who played well, who maybe didn't play well, who the teams need to get a little bit more help from moving forward if they want to be competitive. And then we're going to finish it off with some DC Defender talk. That's right, the UFL season has started. The DC Defender did play today. We are going to look at how they fared and how their defense stepped up in a big way. All while continuing DMV Beverage Month with our last choice, a classic, simple producer that is making some really interesting ciders, very interesting ciders on the market for these guys. We've got all that and more coming up on Let's Whine About DMV Sports on the IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do not go away. We're going to have a couple commercials and we'll get right to it.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IU Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky that's on a whole nother planet. Go to planetjerky.net to get yours today. Also, Vital Apparel, fantastic workout clothing, and supports a great cause, mental health research. Use promo code IESR to get 15% off of your purchase today and continue to help them as they continue on their journey to support mental health research. Seal the Deal Wax Seals, custom wax seals, the perfect touch for your special event. Go to Instagram at sealthedeal_wax seals to check them out today. And our newest sponsor, Get Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to getrawnutrition.com. Use promo code IESR for 10% off today. They have all different kinds of supplements, proteins, nutrients that will help you win whatever journey you're on, whether it's continuing fitness, getting back into fitness, whatever it may be, other issues that you are looking for assistance. Do be sure to check them out, getrawnutrition.com. Use promo code IESR for 10% off. And if you have not done so already, please follow yours truly on X at letswine_IESR. And do be sure to join the Supporters Club. If you're a fan of this show or any other show here at IE Sports Radio, we have a Supporters Club. Just $5 a month gets you a handful of benefits. On here, we'll discuss your favorite DMV team, your favorite beverage, and we'll invite you on for a show for sure. So just $5 a month can get you a handful of perks, a handful of fun stuff. So be sure, if you are a supporter of this show or any other show here on IE Sports Radio, we do greatly appreciate all of you, whether you're listening now or maybe later on in the week, whatever works for you. We have a ton of sports to get to tonight, but first, of course, we must start with our beverage. We are in the last weekend of DMV Beverage Month. I know, y'all. It has been a long road. We've tasted so many great things, some tasty wine, some tasty beer. We're ending it with a classic, at least a staple in this area, I would say, because they also operate out of North Carolina, but their main center, I believe, is out of Virginia. But we've got Bold Rock hard cider, very well-known brand, like I said, especially in this area. They make all different kinds of hard ciders. This is just their base right here, just their apple one, and you can see that lovely little low alcohol percentage, only 4.7%. Not anything that's going to blow you out of the water. Cider is always a safe bet. I've had a couple different ciders on the show. I'll tell you, they're very good. They're very crisp, very refreshing. They work in a bunch of different seasons. They're very universally enjoyable. This one, like I said, it's just their regular apple, and you can see on there, they even describe it as crisp and refreshing Granny Smith apple blend. Not particularly sour. One thing that I also like about ciders, and this is something that's very helpful in certain communities, is that they're also gluten-free, which is very lovely. A lot of people have gluten sensitivity, gluten allergies. They can't, there's some gluten-free beers out there, but yeah, I mean, I don't know about it. And then some wines you can't even have, depending on how they're made, how they're processed. But cider is always a good choice. But yeah, like I said, this is Bold Rock. Not only do they have just kind of their regular baseline cider, they also have a whole bunch of different flavors. Their berry cider is very popular, very tasty. They have a line of imperial ciders, which I believe I've actually featured on the show in the past, that are closer to 8% alcohol, things that are a little bit more intense for you. And yeah, and they do a great rolling group of seasonal ciders. Their winter cider is phenomenal. I believe they do the frost cider, which is very good, very crisp, very refreshing. But yeah, let's go ahead and give them a taste really quick. I'm not even pouring this in a glass. Cider, beer, I'm a little bit more particular about my beer probably being poured out. But for a cider, drink it out of the bottle, drink it out of the can. I've never really noticed a massive difference there. It's refreshing and it tastes like Granny Smith apples. Not super powerful, not super potent, not going to knock you on your butt. I will say this is a 16-ounce can. Bold Rock usually does either 12-ounce bottles or 16-ounce cans. So this is a little bit more than your traditional beverage serving. So be aware of that. They even have the little health facts on the side there. So this whole can and this is one serving, it's 190 calories. So maybe not the best for you calorie counters out there. 18 total grams of sugar. So definitely not great for those of you that are low sugar. No vitamins or nutrients. I know, be sad. It's a sad thing. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, and it is a 16-ounce beverage. It is 33% more than a regular beer. So in a 12-ounce version, that would only be rough estimate about 140 calories. Not bad, not bad at all. Very good, like I said, very refreshing. Not anything that's going to knock your socks off their regular base apple, but Bold Rock also does beverages that might knock your socks off. So do check them out today. Like I said, they produce great beverages, great ciders, different flavors, different levels of alcohol if you want something with a little bit more of a kick. And they're very good representation of DMV beverage making. Before we get into our break, we are going to say goodbye to the college basketball season. When we spoke last week, a lot of our DMV invitees to the postseason tournaments had been eliminated. That's actually both NIT and the pros, or the main event, the NCAA tournament. Now everybody's been eliminated from everything. The Richmond Spiders women's team was still in it when we talked last Saturday. They were subsequently knocked out the next day, I believe, by South Carolina. or it might have been UCLA. It was one of the two, but either way, they were promptly ousted in the second round. And then Maryland, both of Maryland's teams made the Sweet 16, which was awesome to see. Maryland's men's team had that amazing buzzer beater against Colorado State. That was really fun to watch. But then they were subsequently walloped by Florida in the Sweet 16. The game was close at half, but Florida really pulled away in the second half, which, I mean, makes sense. They're one of the best teams in the nation. They're actually now on to the Final Four, which on the men's side features all number one seeds, which is rather unprecedented. That doesn't usually happen. Makes me feel okay about my bracket. I picked 3 number one seeds, so that's pretty good. But yes, Maryland promptly ousted there. And then Maryland's women's team ran up against a angry and fighting South Carolina team that they simply just did not have a chance at competing with. So they were promptly ousted in the Sweet 16 as well. So both Maryland teams, both of our last hopes, have gone. So we get to say goodbye to the college basketball season, but not without a little bit of drama. As Maryland head coach Kevin Willard today, I believe it was announced, has decided he is leaving the program and going to Villanova. So now Maryland has to search for a new head coach after a Sweet 16 appearance. So they've got that discombobulation, and also they are going to have to likely replace star player Derek Queen, who had a phenomenal performance in the Sweet 16, by the way, 27 points, was even shooting the ball from 3. He will likely go to the NBA, be a one and done. Now, his profile is going to be interesting. A lot of people, pardon me, a lot of people have been high on his skill set, but it's an interesting skill set because he's an undersized center at 6'10", 6'9", 6'10". He doesn't look that big on the court, to be perfectly honest with you. Very well built, 240 pounds. Good offensive game, not as great on the defensive end. It's just a very interesting profile, and I'm curious to see how teams, particularly teams in the mid to late lottery, view his skill set and how it translates to the NBA. But he will likely be one and done. So Maryland's men's team loses its top player and its head coach. The women's team will lose senior guard Shania Sellers, who is going to go to the WNBA, likely be a late first or early second round pick. She's coming off a very solid tournament run. And let's see, who else might they lose here? Usually they only lose the seniors. I'm not really Ali Kubek, I know she got a lot of playing time for the team. Sorry, Cheyenne Sellers, not Shania. I think I confused her with a different player. Sarah Tebiasu, their other starting guard, will also be leaving for the NBA as a senior. So probably some rough times, some rough transitions ahead for both of these programs. Yes, Maryland will likely lose Derek Queen. They'll also lose senior guard Selton Miguel, who was a key rotational piece, and senior forward Julian Reese, who was a starter for the team. Luckily, they do return. Trying to remember who were the other main. They should return Jacoby Gillespie, who was one of the main pieces on the team, and then guard Rodney Rice. So they'll return 2 of their guards, but they'll have to replace their starting bigs and one of their key contributors off the bench. So both teams have an interesting offseason ahead of them following their Sweet 16 performances. That's going to be the key for them returning next year. And as for the rest of our DMV teams, I mean, look, it was a rough year for both of our Virginia schools on both sides. Virginia Tech's women's team made things interesting, although they did not make a particular run in the NIT. So we'll see how they react and how they turn around and subsequently try to make themselves more competitive in 2025, 2026. That will do it for the first part of our show. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're jumping into our hockey and our basketball. Don't go away. You're listening to Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back to Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We jump into hockey now. The Caps, kind of a rough week, 0-2-1 on the week. It was a couple of harder teams on the schedule, so not anything super concerning. Some close games, losing by 1 goal in overtime and then 2 goals. And then they lost by 3 goals today to the Sabres, but one of those was an empty netter with 15 seconds left. So they were in it. It was a 1-2 goal game all through that third period. So not terrible losses, although the goaltending was something to be concerned about in these last couple of games. But 0-2-1 on the week, 47-17-9. That's 103 points on the season. Gap is starting to close a little bit. The Hurricanes continue to play great hockey. They continue to be hot. They're within 9 points with 9 games left. So I'd like to see the Caps, if they could secure like 4 wins just to put it away, that would be good. Also, if they go like 4-3-2 in the last 9 games, that's about 500. That gets them good points. I'd like to see them get back on the winning side and get some momentum before the playoffs, because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you go in cold, unless you're getting a really easy wild card team, it's going to be a rough series. Also, the Toronto Maple Leafs closing in the other division. They might be within 10 or 9 points by the end of the evening. They're currently playing against the Ducks. I'm not worried about the rest of the division. New Jersey's 18 points back with 9 games left. It's almost mathematically impossible for them to catch. So it's really just those pesky Hurricanes right in behind us that I would like to make sure that we keep the momentum and we don't lose the top spot in the division, which then forces us to play the Devils as opposed to probably, I would expect, the worst wild card team. That could be a big difference. Player of the week, who else but Alex Ovechkin? He had the most points for the week. 2 goals, 2 assists. He had one of the key goals in the overtime loss. He had the tying goal to get them to overtime. Would have liked to have seen him knock a couple more in over the week, but hey, 2 goals, 2 assists is still fine. And of course, the record watch, the 2 goals put him up to 890, 4 to tie, 5 to pass. 9 games left. I have a feeling this one's going to come down to the wire. It'd be nice if in the next 2 games he has a 2-goal game or something to really kind of close that gap. But it's still exciting. People are still watching every night to see what he does. And like I said, 2 goals in 3 games this past week. So he's clearly still doing it well, still performing. So we'll see if he can get this record here in 9 games before the season is over. But yes, a little bit of a concerning week to have this kind of a slump this close to the playoffs. So you hope that they can fix some of the issues. Like I said, particularly goaltending. 7 goals given up by Logan Thompson today. Not a great performance. His performance has been a little bit up and down. He's actually been much more solid in the month of March. February was kind of rough for him, but March he has leveled things out a little bit. We hope he gets back to that cut for the playoffs. And then offense, I mean, they only scored 2 goals in back-to-back games, but then they got 5 today. So clearly, I mean, averaging 3 goals a game, not the greatest over this week. So just a culmination of just a couple of underwhelming performances. Hopefully nothing to be concerned about, but you never know. And like I said, with the 9 games left, I hope over the next probably 2 weeks, I imagine, is when we're going to see that. You hope that they can correct whatever issues are and get a little bit of momentum heading in to the postseason. Speaking of teams that are not going to make the postseason, the Wizards, who went 1-3 on the week, they keep winning a game here and there and keeping the Lizards nickname away for a little while here and there. But they are 1-3 on the week, 16-59 on the season. One of those 3 losses was that awful loss to the Indiana Pacers that, of course, everybody is still talking about, as they lost 162-109, a 53-point loss in which you scored over 100 points, is pretty dang rough. Pretty dang rough there to have that type of performance there. Even for a team as poor as the Wizards, just losing by 53 is just simply unacceptable. And then they lose to the Nets, who had a fourth quarter comeback, one of these teams that's kind of tanking in the Eastern Conference, because they didn't play their starters most of the fourth quarter. Very interesting decision. Jordan Poole has not been playing most fourth quarters. They've been using a lot of the backups, a lot of the younger players, which, I mean, I understand you're not trying to win games, but can we make it a little less obvious, perhaps? I mean, at least show a little bit of effort there. But who am I? Who am I to say? In terms of the tank, they are still half a game better than the Utah Jazz. The 2 teams have the same number of wins. They have 1 fewer loss, the Wizards do. And then in third place is Charlotte, who are 2 games better. New Orleans has racked up a couple of wins this past week. I would say that the Pelicans are now out of the concern area. The Wizards are now 4.5 games better, but the main point is, or 4.5 games worse. But the main point is that the Pelicans have 21 wins, meaning in order to tie, the Wizards would have to go 5-3 over the last 8 games of the season. That's not going to happen. So they will, I believe it is safe to say that they will finish worse than the Pelicans at this point, which secures top 3 odds in the lottery. Now, if they stay worse than Charlotte, which is really interesting that they're in this situation because they swept Charlotte this year. If they even lost 1 game to the Hornets, this wouldn't even be a debate. The Hornets would be 19-55. The team would be 15-59, be a 4-game gap, and I would say the Wizards have no chance of getting 19 wins, having to go 4-4. But I mean, it's a 2-game gap. If they go say 3-5 and the Hornets just absolutely blow, then that could be a conversation. So we'll see how that all plays out. But the Wizards did win this week, which means they do get a player of the week. And I'm going with AJ Johnson, the rookie who they acquired in the trade with the Bucks involving Kyle Kuzma. And the reason he's the player of the week is just because he's been the most exciting player on the team. I don't have any stats, I don't have any statistical foundation to support this statement. All I have is that every time there is a Wizards game on, there is an AJ Johnson highlight. And we had a conversation with Dan, the host of the Milwaukee show here on iSports Radio, and he said that giving up Johnson was one of the biggest mistakes the Bucks could have made at the deadline. He was arguably one of the most exciting players on the team, or at least the most exciting bench player. It's tough to be the most exciting player on the team when you have Giannis, but and he thought he could have been a foundational piece. He even joked, he was like, hey, I think we sent you the wrong AJ. Can we send you the right one? Referring to backup guard AJ Green, not the former NFL receiver. And I told him, no, I'm keeping AJ Johnson. You gave him to me fair and square. So AJ Johnson gets player of the week simply because he's been the most exciting. You know, just is something to give the fans a little bit of hope and a little bit of belief in the future. I think AJ Johnson over the last couple weeks has definitely established himself as a key piece moving forward, along with Alex Sarr, who continues to play very well, along with Keyshawn George, along with Bub Carrington, along with Bilal Coulibaly. That could actually be a starting five for this team in the future. Now, I mean, depending on how the lottery goes, they'll be getting a player that will probably insert himself into that starting lineup. But this team could have a starting lineup, say 2026 to 2027, AJ Johnson, Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr. It could happen. It could happen. Corey Kispert off the bench. Jordan Poole off the bench. I'm sure he'd be supportive. He'd be supportive of that. Who else would be off the bench? Whatever player that they draft in the first round this year. Sadiq Bey would still be on the team. He'd come off the bench. Yeah. So, hey, anything is possible. But Davidson Crooks, the Crooks Process, host Fast Break here. Keep that tank for that top 3 pick. We're working on it. Working on it, Davidson. Also, shout out to Taryn Rodriguez in the chat room as well. Thank you, sir. I hope you're having a good evening as well. Next week for the Wizards, they face off against the 3 home games, so that's encouraging, but against 3 playoffs, mostly play-in teams, but teams that are still fighting for positioning and spots in the Heat, Kings, and Magic. So whereas in the recent schedule, they've faced the several teams that are tanking, the remaining schedule, the remaining 8 games, I think 6 of the 8 are either play-in or playoff teams. And then I think they've got the 76ers as a game. And then Toronto. I think they've got Toronto and the 76ers are the 2 that aren't. But at least 6 teams that are looking to compete that are going to bring their A game, which is bad news bears for the Wizards. That'll do it for basketball. There not a ton of football news going on right now for the NFL ranks. The Ravens, actually that's a lie. The Ravens did sign head coach John Harbaugh to a 3-year extension. Nobody has the exact timing on, when that extension's up, but the going theory is that it lines up with Lamar Jackson's extension, so that the 2 will be in Baltimore at least for the same amount of time for the foreseeable future. So that's a positive move. Not all of Ravens Twitter has taken it super positively because, they think that making the playoffs every year is not the only grade of success. And if you're not winning Super Bowls, you should be fired, apparently, which means that there are probably about 20 head coaches that should be fired in the NFL. But that's not how the NFL works, guys. Let's be real. Davison Crooks asked, did I talk about Kevin Willard leaving? Yes, I did. I said it's going to be a big uphill battle for a team that just won the Sweet 16 to have to now turn around and find a head coach to replace the one who just led them to the Sweet 16, not to mention probably losing their best player to the draft in Derek Queen. It's going to be a real interesting season next year for Maryland. But we did have some football, some professional football, I believe you could count it. The DC Defenders had their UFL season opener today, and they faced off against the Birmingham Stallions, and they beat them 18-11. Quarterback Jordan Teamu led the way with passing, 217 passing yards and a touchdown. He did throw an interception. Not a very offensive game, as you can see by the score, but the defense showed up big time, as was the case last year for the Defenders. They had 8 sacks from 6 different players, including the game-sealing play, which was a defensive sack in the fourth quarter. So great start. It's really funny looking at these UFL games and recognizing players like the leading rusher for the Defenders was Deion Jackson, the former Colts running back. Monte Nicholson was playing safety for the Defenders. He used to be a Commanders safety, and then there were a couple other fun players. Jordan Teamu was briefly an NFL player as well. So it's just interesting to see the different players showing up on the NFL, on the UFL rosters. The Birmingham Stallions have a player who actually really liked when he came out in the drafts a few years ago, Perrion Winfrey, defensive tackle from Oklahoma, but he did not establish himself in the NFL, so now he's in the UFL playing for the Stallions. So that's always fun to see these guys' names pop up, and at least good to see them having success in some way, shape, or form playing the sport that they love. We're going to take our second break of the evening. When we come back, we're jumping into baseball. Baseball season is here. Do not go away. You're listening to Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to Let's Whine About DMV Sports here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have come to the final part of our show, and it is time to talk opening weekend in the MLB. That's right, baseball season is officially upon us. And it was an exciting opening weekend just beyond the DMV teams. The Yankees, incredible offensive surge to start the season for them. I believe I just saw the San Diego Padres did a 4-game sweep of the Atlanta Braves. The Chicago White Sox were briefly the best team in baseball. Okay, that might be an exaggeration, but they briefly were 1-0. So that's something. Just lots of great different storylines, great headliners, great stuff going on across the league. Of course, we're going to focus in on our DMV teams. First of all, salute Marcus Losgreat, the host of our Gloves Off boxing podcast. Good evening, sir. But we're going to start with the Orioles, who split their opening series against the Toronto Blue Jays. They had a 4-game road series in Toronto, dealing with the boos of the national anthem, which is still going on for some odd reason. But, whatever. I digress. I try not to get too much into politics there. And also facing off against former teammate Anthony Santander, as well as relief pitcher Jeff Hoffman, who had actually visited the Orioles. The Orioles had some concerns about his elbow, so they did not sign him. He signs with Toronto. He had some interesting comments about that this past offseason, but I digress. He pitched, and he actually pitched well in both of Toronto's wins. The Orioles, what were the themes of the week? Their power. They started off 6 home runs in the first game. I think 3 or 4 in the third game. So in both their wins, they produced a good number of home runs. Offense was a little bit inconsistent. They scored 12 runs, 2 runs, 9 runs, and 1 run. You can guess which 2 games were the wins and which 2 games were the losses. But the power was definitely there. And even today, they still got 9 hits and got a bunch of guys on base. They just could not drive runners in with scoring position. I believe they were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position and left 9 players on base. So the power was there, but the production a little bit inconsistent. Inconsistent starters. Zach Eflin had a really solid start to begin the season. 6 innings, a quality start. Probably could have gone 7. I kind of see the logic of pulling him at 6 with it being the first game, and also with the injuries that this pitching staff has sustained. I could see you wanting to maybe handle him a little bit more gently, but I would have liked to have seen him at least try the 7th, at least see if he could get through it in like 10 pitches or something. But beyond him, Charlie Morton, the veteran, really rough first start. Dean Kramer had a rough start as well. But Kramer managed to come away at least in a game where they won. Morton, they lost that game. And then Tomoyuki Sugano had to get pulled after 4 with some hand discomfort, arm and hand discomfort. So that's not great to see. Thankfully, the bullpen, though, was solid throughout. They only gave up a few runs, I believe 4 runs in 4 games. And I believe, how many innings did they have to pitch? I know they had to go 8. They had to go 4 today. They had to go 3 in Eflin's game. I believe they had to go 4 again in Kramer's game and 5. So I believe 16 innings, the bullpen only gave up 4 runs, which is about a 2 ERA. So that's, or 2.22. So that's pretty great to see. And most of those runs as well were given up by Cionel Perez, who was off to a rough start. Great performances by Brian Baker. He made 2 appearances, pitched a total of 2 2/3 innings, and gave up 0 runs, had 5 strikeouts. That's out of the pen. Him and Matt Bowman today, they combined for 3.1 innings of relief after Sugano's injury, and they were able to shut it down, at least give the Orioles a chance, although the bats just never showed up and they lost 3-1. Player of the week, Jordan Westburg. I thought about giving it to Baker, but he just didn't quite pitch enough maybe. So warranted, although definitely shout out to him and Bauman. I wanted to give it to both of them. And really, the whole of the bullpen minus CNL Perez, who, by the way, gave that all up in like 1 2/3 innings. So really, in 14 innings, aside from CNL Perez, the bullpen only gave up 1 run. That is phenomenal performance for them to start the season. Everybody's showing up. Albert Suarez, Yanier Cano, Felix Bautista. How could I not talk about Felix Bautista? Made his first appearance in a game since 2023, and he pitched a shutout inning with 3 strikeouts. And luckily only had to use him once, so he's going to be fresh going into next week. Same with Yanier Cano. He's going to be fresh, probably Keegan Aiken. Keegan Aiken doing well also. He pitched 1 2/3 innings of work and kept it scoreless as well. But Jordan Westburg gets the nod. He only appeared in 3 games. I don't know why he wasn't available for the game today. Manager Brandon Hyde would not say, but he hit 3 home runs in 3 games and hit 461 in the series opener. Other good performers, Tyler O'Neill coming out. Obviously, he continues his opening day heroics. He has now homered in 6 consecutive opening days. So he had a great performance. Cedric Mullins had 2 home runs in the opener. Adley Rushman had 2 home runs in the opener. So both of them have performed very well offensively. Defensively, there have been some errors to start. So that's a little bit concerning, but they haven't impacted the game. Both the losses, today's loss definitely due to the lack of offensive production. The loss the other day due to Morton's really rough start, their first loss, and even then the final score was 8-2. So you can't really point to one issue there, but Jordan Westburg gets Player of the Week. Moving forward, we're going to keep the Player of the Week because we've done it for all the other teams. So we're just going to keep on rolling with that formula there. Flipping over to the Nationals, not as good of a start, but not awful. Well, there was one thing that was awful. We'll get to that in a moment. But they go 1-2 against a very good Philadelphia Phillies team. Win today 5-1. Kind of got wrecked yesterday, but on Thursday, a very good game that had the bullpen just held out just a little bit longer. They could have pulled out the victory. Offense, well, let's go ahead and get to our themes. Excellent starting pitching. Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irving, and Mitchell Parker. Very good starts across the board. Irving's was okay, but I mean, it was good enough to normally get a win. The bullpen absolutely atrocious. Better today. They only gave up 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. So better today, but those first 2 games absolutely atrocious. Gave up 14 runs, I believe, in what was 7 innings. Yeah, because they had no, it was 8 innings because the first game went to 10. So in 8 innings, they gave up 14 runs. It was absolutely despicable. Like I said, they've calmed down a bit today, but they also used their best guys, Kyle Finnegan, Jorge Lopez, and Jose Ferrer. They also, Derek Law is hurt, so they're out one of their other best bullpen arms. But yes, absolutely terrible bullpen. Probably the reason it's not 2-1. In fact, definitely the reason it's not 2-1. And then youngsters struggling, of course, the big one being Dylan Cruz, who played in 2 of the 3 games, went 0 for 8 with 8 strikeouts. So whatever's going on there, we need to figure it out because that is not how you want to start a season. James Wood, not particularly productive either. They did get some production from various sources. Paul DeJong had 3 hits today. Nathan Lowe has 2 home runs through the weekend. Great performances by him. Josh Bell had a 3-run home run today, and he's produced a little, so it's good to see that as well. Offense as a whole has not been incredibly explosive. They had 5 runs today. I believe it was 3 runs in the opening game. And then I think it was only a couple of runs in their second game. Let's double check that really quick. But yeah, overall, offense has not been incredible. And then obviously the pitching, not really there to back it up. Okay, I lied. So they actually scored 6 runs in the second game, but that game was put so far out of reach by the 7th inning that I think I kind of lost track. Oh yeah, Ahmed Rosario, he had a home run. Oh, and Keeper Ruiz, how could I forget about Ruiz? Off to a very good start. In 3 games, has a 500 batting average and a 1.745 OPS. He has hit 2 home runs. So Keeper Ruiz, very happy to see he's off to a fantastic start. His performance, if him, Lowe, and Josh Bell can continue to perform the way they started the season, and some of these young bats start to pick it up, like James Woods and CJ Abrams, then the offense could be something to reckon with this year. But not unless that bullpen gets better. Player of the week, honorable mention, like I said, Keeper Ruiz, who a fantastic start to the season. Also Nathan Lowe, Mitchell Parker, who pitched 6 1/3 scoreless today, but Mackenzie Gore, one of the best opening day pitching performances I've ever seen from a Nationals pitcher. In fact, it might be the best. 6 innings of 1-hit baseball, struck out 13. That is a Nationals franchise record for the opening day. But it's going to get completely overshadowed because they lost the game. But that is not a performance that we can speak highly enough of. Just absolutely phenomenal, in command. Him, Irving, and Parker, with DJ Hurst hurt, that's going to be the trio that's going to get them through the season. And right now, it's looking pretty darn good. Irving's was not as good. He went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs on 7 hits. Probably could have gone 6. He'd only thrown 83 pitches. I would have liked to see them try the 6th there for him. But I've noticed that managers across the league, with the exception of Toronto today, who made Chris Bassett throw 106 pitches to get through 6 innings. It was a quality start, but he had to work for it. But in any case, pitchers across baseball are being very gentle, or managers across baseball are being very gentle with their pitchers. Gore had thrown like 90-ish pitches, I believe 93. So I'm okay with yanking him after 6 at that point, especially with the performance he had. But yeah, great to see that from him. Great to see it from Parker. Irving, I think, could have given you a little bit more if you had asked. So good to see that going. And hopefully, if they can get healthy, if they can get Hers and Cade Cavalli and perhaps even Josiah Gray into this rotation at some point, it could be very exciting. I do wonder who the last 2 spots are. We'll be able to check that here on ESPN really quick. By the way, the Orioles have Cade Povich going tomorrow against the Red Sox. So hopefully he can buck the trend of the recent starts for the Orioles. The Nationals tomorrow, face off against the Blue Jays. That's perfect. They're going with Michael Soraka at the on the mound to start that one, and then their 5th pitcher, who will pitch against the Blue Jays on Tuesday, is going to be Trevor Williams. So kind of the 2 I expected, with Hers out, and then by logic, that'll put Mackenzie Gore against Kevin Gausman at the later on next week against the Blue Jays. We're going to quick check in on our college teams. Well, first we're going to do college baseball. Baseball kind of stinks right now, college-wise, in the DMV. Virginia Tech is doing all right. They're 20-8. Virginia has completely fallen off of the map. They're down to 15-11. They've been completely removed from the rankings. A very disappointing performance for a team that was ranked 2 entering the season. So they've just completely fallen off. Maryland's team was never really that competitive, and none of the other smaller schools are doing enough to really catch voters' eyes for the top 25. Looking at it, nobody is on there from the DMV, although I feel like Virginia Tech should be at least garnering votes maybe next week, depending on how some of the lower teams like Troy, UNC, Stanford, Arizona, UCLA, depending on how some of they did. Virginia Tech might get some votes in, but the softball's looking good. Softball's looking really good. Virginia Tech continues to look strong in softball. They are up to 28-5. Virginia also doing really well. They're up to 25-10. And Liberty Flames are doing really well. They're at 31-6. So all three of them were ranked last week in the rankings. I expect all three of them to maintain their spot in the rankings moving forward. And these are three teams. I mean, in college softball, it's who can compete with the SEC. And I think, everybody who isn't the SEC is looking for somebody to latch on to try to get out with them. And I think you have three DMV schools that can make a reasonable argument to at least be competitive. Now, are they going to beat the likes of Oklahoma, LSU, South Carolina? I think those are three of the best. If that was wrong, I do apologize. Let's see. Oklahoma, Texas, and LSU. I'm sorry. Oh, South Carolina still good. Okay, I'm not bad for missing that. But in any case, I'm not saying they can beat them, but I'm saying that they could play some competitive softball against these top-tier SEC schools. I think so. But obviously we'll see come World Series, College World Series time. That was it for tonight's show. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Beef Brisket Jerky. Go to planetjerky.net to get yours today. Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health. Use code IESR to get 50% off your purchase of their comfortable and inspiring gym wear today. Seal the Deal Wax Seals, custom wax stamps, perfect for any occasion. Check them out on Instagram at @SealTheDeal_wax seals. New sponsor, Get Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to GetRawNutrition.com and use promo code IESR to get your necessary supplements today. Do be sure to follow us on all social media platforms on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all of the above at IE Sports Radio. Do go to IESportsRadio.com where you can check out our merchandise, show pages, the blog, the Hall of Fame, and so much more. You can listen to us on a whole bunch of different options: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Spreaker, Spotify, all of the above and more. And once again, if you are a supporter of the station, if you really like the station, do join our supporters club today. And of course, now's the time for me to remind you all of my main message, which is please drink responsibly. Do not drink and drive. One of my favorite social media posts regarding this topic is that you can afford an Uber or a taxi before you can afford a DUI. So please drink responsibly. Do not drink and drive. It is simply not worth it. We'll be back next week to talk more baseball, more hockey, more basketball. College basketball's done, but we still got college baseball going. We've got the UFL. We're starting to get close to some drafts, which of course means the draft segment will be coming very, very soon. So do be on the lookout for that. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. This has been Mike Patt on the Let's Find About DMV Sports on the IE Sports Radio. Directing all that is sports. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.